First, both servos are included in the library, and set up the tone in pin 4 to 3000 Hz and a delay for a second. And then attach servo left and servo right to pin 13 and pin 12. In the loop section, make both left and right light float. And then I make a function to calculate the shade on right phototransistor and left phototransistor. And here's the equation for the ND shade. T left plus T right means the total shade of left phototransistor and right phototransistor. And there's T right on the top. If T right is exactly the half of the total shade, it will be 0.5, and 0.5 minus 0.50, so it will go straight. If right phototransistor's shade is bigger than left, so that the first part of the equation will be bigger than 0.5. So when it was subtracted by 0.5, it will be bigger than 0. This leads to the first if section. When ND shade is greater than 0, that means there's shade on right. On the other way, if T right is lower than T left, so that means the first part of the equation will be lower than 0.5. After subtracted by 0.5, it will be negative numbers, which turn to be the else section after. In the if section, let's see if T right, which is the shade of the right phototransistor, if it has like 60% of the shade, the first part of the equation will turns out to be 0.6. After subtracted by 0.5, it will turns out to be 0.1. And in the equation, 0.1 will be multiplied by 1000, which is 100. And in the following equation, 200 is the maximum speed, which is full speed. And after minus by 100, the left well speed will decrease to 100, and the speed of the right well will stay at 200, which makes it turn left. There's also possibilities that ND shade will be greater than 0.5, which makes the speed of left well be negative. That's impossible. So in the next line, there's a constraint which makes the speed left can only be inside negative 200 and positive 200, which gave him a limitation. So the ND shade can be greater than 0.2 or lower than negative 0.2. In the L section, which is ND shade is equal or lower than 0, it means there's a shade on left phototransistor. In the L section, it is almost the same as the if section. It's only to the opposite side, and the ND shade in this section will be negative, which after multiplied by 1000, it will increase it will turns out to be negative number, so the speed of right will decrease, and the speed of left will stay at 200, which makes it turn right. There's also a constraint section to limit the ND shade values to make sure it is working. In this part of the code, it is mainly talking about set pins into working condition and calculate the delay time for each pin. In the last part is a function, and we know from the last project that 1500 is stop, like no movement, and the 1700 is like counterclockwise full speed, and 1300 is clockwise full speed. So 1500 plus the speed of left, which is calculated in the front, is the speed of left, and the servo right speed is 1500 minus speed right, which is calculated in the front, which makes it go towards one direction. And finally, both servos are detached, so that means it's end.